If you scroll the comments under any post on attachment styles, you'll see it. Anxiously attached women saying, I'm the loving, emotionally available one. He's the cold, avoidant, and emotionally unavailable one. But here's the mirror. Are you really emotionally available or just emotionally reactive? There's only one secure style, and it's called secure attachment. The other three, anxious, avoidant, and disorganized, are all insecure, just different flavors of fear. And here's where anxious women get stuck. Emotional reactivity is snapping, crying, defending, or panicking the second you feel abandoned. And emotional availability, though, includes the capacity to breathe through that fear so you can actually hear your partner when they are hurt. Here's an uncomfortable truth. If you're with an avoidant partner, are you a safe environment for them to heal? Can they risk sharing a small feeling with you without it being drowned out by your avalanche of feelings? If not, you're not just reacting, you're re traumatizing him. Because the avoidant's biggest fear deep down isn't just abandonment. At its core, it's engulfment. Deep down, they've given up hope of ever being truly seen. Their nervous system orients around self protection from annihilation. Then you put him with an anxious partner, and what happens? He re experiences the same annihilation and invisibility he felt in childhood. Can I get real with you? When you emotionally blow up at your partner, you're not being vulnerable. Emotional reactivity is your comfort zone. True vulnerability requires discomfort, which means for the anxiously attached, the bravest thing you can do is the opposite of your instinct, not unloading your storm of feelings the second you feel triggered, and not making the moment about your feelings. Because here's the truth, all that emotional reactivity isn't emotional availability. It's emotional dysregulation and, yes, emotional manipulation. Why? Because it's your way of teaching him, never do this to me again, or I'll unleash hell. The truth isn't that avoidant partners are emotionally unavailable. The truth is that their system is wired with a hypersensitivity they haven't yet learned how to manage. And if you meet that hypersensitivity with your reactivity instead of true availability, you confirm their worst fear, that there's no safe place for them. Healthy love requires both the courage to share and the courage to listen. Food for thought. If anxious attachment were mostly found in men, would it still be romanticized as loving too hard, tender, and caring? Or would it be exposed for what it often is, insecure, unsafe, and an insatiable desire for control? With love, Coach Mel. We say we believe in gender equality. We post it, we preach it, we hashtag it. But in relationships, our behavior tells a very different story. When a man works nonstop and never shares his feelings, he's respected as strong. When a woman does the same, she's told she's too cold and too hard to love. When a woman blows up his phone and cries about him leaving, she's praised as deeply loving. When a man does the same, he's labeled as desperate and weak. See the problem? That gap between what we say we believe and how we actually show up is what sociology calls cultural lag. And it's in that lag where resentment, contempt, and attachment wounds thrive. Unconscious gender role expectations are the scripts we pick up without even realizing it. They're not taught in a classroom. They're modeled through family, culture, religion, movies, music, etc. They seep into us until they feel like truth. Things like men don't cry, men provide, and men protect. Women nurture, women sacrifice, and women keep the family together. So here's the uncomfortable truth. As much as psychology says that both anxious and avoidant attachment are unhealthy, culture still expects us to show up in relationships embodying those very styles. For women, that looks like being dependent, needy, softer, clingy, in other words, anxious. And for men, that looks like being independent, stoic, workaholic, and unemotional, in other words, avoidant. So what do we do when therapists say anxious and avoidant attachment are unhealthy, but the culture rewards us for upholding them? Let's break it down. Anxiously attached women are rewarded. She blows up his phone with 10 texts in a row, and society calls it passion. She posts love quotes all day, and society calls her romantic. Her panic gets mislabeled as loving too hard. Avoidantly attached men are also rewarded. He works 80 hours a week, rarely opens up, and goes silent after an argument, and society calls him disciplined and focused. His withdrawal gets mislabeled as productivity. Anxiously attached men are stigmatized. He texts too much, asks for closeness, or gets jealous, and society calls him clingy, desperate, and weak. What's seen as tender in a woman is seen as pathetic in a man. Avoidantly attached women are also stigmatized. She stays guarded, prioritizes her career, and doesn't chase men, and society calls her cold, difficult, and intimidating. What's praised as independence in men is punished as unlovable in women. So here's the bigger picture. The culture doesn't just shape how we attach, it shapes how our attachment is perceived and reinforced. It rewards certain insecurities while shaming others. And that's the deeper truth. It can feel impossible to change or impossible to desire to change, while society rewards us for living out outdated scripts we never consciously chose. And remember what we talked about in part one. When anxious women say, I'm the loving one and he's the unavailable one, that's not just their wound talking, it's the gender script talking. Reflection questions. Number one, where in my relationship do I say I believe in equality, but act out old gender role scripts without realizing it? Number two, do I confuse emotional reactivity with emotional availability? And how does that impact my partner's ability to feel safe with me? And number three, am I being rewarded or stigmatized for my attachment style? And how has that shaped the story I tell myself about how I'm allowed to show up in love?